The Silent Hill 2 remake has been on PlayStation 5 and PC for almost 10 months at the time of recording this video. It's a fun and scary reimagining of Konami's classic PlayStation 2 game. The remake focuses on combat and exploration by utilizing an over-the-shoulder perspective, like Resident Evil 4. The remake adds more rooms, more enemies, more puzzles, and more events. The original game focused on psychological horror, mystery, and puzzle solving, and could be completed in a little over 5 hours in the first playthrough. My first playthrough of the remake took over 20 hours, but I have heard it can be cleared in as little as 10. The game directors and developers at Bloober Team have taken an extremely interesting approach to remaking and updating the game for modern audiences. They have moved or rewritten many of the iconic events of the original, which has the cool effect of making the remake feel entirely new. They have also removed or replaced several of the puzzles in the original game. The interesting thing about the way Bloober Team handled this is that they added remembrances of the original game in the remake. By examining certain areas in the remake that held significance in the original, the player hears a sound effect and a music cue. Many of these locations are where events, items, or puzzles are encountered in the original game. The remake also has new Polaroid photos James can find. At first, these seem to present a new puzzle to solve. However, upon reaching the end of the remake, you realize that there is no puzzle within the game that was solved by the photos. For several weeks after the game's release, no one was able to figure this out. But then Reddit user Dale Robinson posted a possible solution that was then confirmed by Bloober Team's Mateusz Lenart. If you solve the puzzle in each photo, you'll get a number. If you count that many letters into the phrase written on each photo, you'll get one letter. And if you put those letters into the order indicated by the numbers on the back of the 26 photos, you'll spell out, "You've been here for 2 decades." What does that even mean? Between the remembrances and the photos, what is Bloober Team trying to convey about the original or the remake? Diving deeper into the remembrances, they appear to be something that James experiences when he examines certain locations. Notice the TV static displayed on screen, the quick blurring and field of view changes, the whooshing sound effect. If I didn't know better, I'd say James is experiencing déjà vu, defined as the feeling of having already experienced the present situation. The remake sets up a duality of experience for James, meaning he has not only experienced the events of the original game, but he is also experiencing those events differently in the remake. With this addition, Bloober Team is saying that both the original game and the events of the remake are both true and both occur to James. Are we to therefore accept that the remake is a kind of sequel to the original game? Bloober Team's additions of these remembrances and the Polaroids appears to confirm a fan favorite theory about the original game: the Silent Hill 2 loop theory. This is a theory created by gamers who played the original game during and shortly after its release on PlayStation 2. The theory posits that main character James Sunderland is stuck in a kind of time loop, like Bill Murray in the movie Groundhog Day, where he's experiencing the same events repeatedly as a kind of punishment. The proponents of this theory have long argued for this theory based on the following so-called evidence in the game. Number 1, there are multiple endings. Number 2, there is New Game Plus. Number 3, the body that James finds in the Woodside Apartments room 208 sitting in front of the TV is indeed James Sunderland with blood all over his head. And really, that's it. That's all the evidence from in-game that anyone had to back up this theory prior to the Silent Hill 2 remake. Regarding the multiple endings of Silent Hill 2, there are many video games with multiple endings based on the player's actions during the game. At the time Silent Hill 2 was first released in 2001, Konami was on a streak of releasing multi-ending adventure games that were big hits, such as the first Metal Gear Solid and the first Silent Hill. They clearly got the idea from games like the first Resident Evil, which had 8 to 12 possible endings if you include all the variations. The practice dates back to arcade games of the mid-1980s. The feature encourages players to replay a game to see all possible endings. The Silent Hill series was positioned by Konami to compete directly with Capcom's Resident Evil. So by design, the first game had 4 possible endings. The ending achieved is based on whether the player completes a couple of side quests late in the game. Plus, there is a joke ending only available in New Game Plus where UFOs abduct the protagonist. The original Silent Hill 2 had 3 endings possible in the player's first game, plus 3 more endings possible in a New Game Plus. The ending achieved in the first game is based on whether the player stays true to the memory of James Sunderland's dead wife, Mary, or whether they spend more time protecting Maria, or whether the player acts suicidal like Angela by examining her knife several times and holding off on healing. The existence of multiple endings in Silent Hill 1 honestly doesn't seem to be much of a problem for anyone in the fan community, but with Silent Hill 2 there's been a lot of discussions or arguments about which ending is the correct one or the canon ending. While technically a first-time player has the best chance of getting the leave ending, a lot of people who support the loop theory have tried to argue that the in-water or suicide ending is canon. Because if James does commit suicide at the end of Silent Hill 2, it does strengthen the theory that his death resets him at the start of each New Game Plus, just like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day. However, the other 2 main endings, Leave and Maria, both end with James leaving Silent Hill with either Laura or Maria respectively. Both these endings really do contradict the idea that James is experiencing the events in Silent Hill on repeat. Another piece of supporting evidence pops up in Silent Hill 4: The Room. The photo of Toluca Lake on Henry's wall was given to him by the building superintendent, Frank Sunderland. If you look at this photo at a certain point in the game, Henry mentions hearing that Frank's son and daughter-in-law disappeared in Silent Hill a few years back. Frank bears a heavy resemblance to James, making the familial connection easy to assume. If James did not leave Silent Hill with either Laura or Maria, then it might have been possible that the in-water ending is canon. However, whether the in-water ending is canon was shot down directly by Masahiro Ito, the monster designer for Silent Hill 2 and the remake. In this quote retweet he posted on Twitter in mid-2023 before the remake released, he finally confirmed that all the endings are canon, not just in water. This was a major blow to the loop theory prior to the remake. This falls in line with comments made back in 2001 by Team Silent, who made the first 4 games. In an interview with IGN, one or more of the team members said, "In Silent Hill 2, we prepare a couple of different types of endings, but they're all real endings. Each ending will give you a complete story. Your actions affect what type of story you see, though, and what some events mean. At some points, you'll make a decision, and that will send you down one way, where you could have gone another. These decisions tweak your perception of the story, though, more than actual events. Depending on which way you go, your emotions could differ greatly, and your point of view on the story could be different." The existence of New Game Plus, or playing Silent Hill 2 over again with the same game save, is another piece of evidence cited by those who support the loop theory. The fact that you can play the game over, find new items, and see new endings does support the idea that James experiences the game's events more than once. The fact that new items appear in New Game Plus that allow him to conduct a rebirth ritual does lend some credence to the idea that James must experience at least more than one ending, no less. But Silent Hill 2 isn't the first game to feature New Game Plus. That honor goes to 1995's Chrono Trigger, which featured 11 endings to the game. The New Game Plus feature was also designed to allow players to replay the game quickly so as to see all the endings. Both Silent Hill 1 and Resident Evil also featured New Game Plus, unlocking new weapons to make a new game easier. Silent Hill 2 is merely continuing this tradition. And finally, the body in Woodside Apartments, room 208. Yes, if you look at it long enough, you realize that it looks a lot like another James Sunderland is sitting in front of the TV, dead. In a post on the Silent Hill Heaven forum from 2006, an anonymous user posted this free camera screenshot of the body in the chair, and it does appear to be James Sunderland. In the making of featurette from the European Special Edition of the game, art director Masahi Tsuboyama confirmed that this body is James, and it's an image straight out of James' imagination. But yes, like many of you, I have always had these questions about the dead bodies in Silent Hill. Several of them appear to be decomposing, distorted versions of James. The original game contains many scenes where James finds out that his experiences are unique to him, and that other characters like Angela and Eddie are not seeing the same things he is. James, seeing dead bodies that vaguely resemble him, is certainly in line with the reality warping powers that were unleashed in the town during the first game. Believers in the loop theory speculate that these are all James's dead bodies from his previous attempts to complete the game. I never really believed this because nothing else in the game corroborates this theory. For example, if the player dies and restarts from the last save point, there is no decomposing body found at the scene of that death. What is brought up late in the game by Eddie Dombrowski is that Silent Hill calls out to a certain kind of person. I don't believe James, Angela, and Eddie are the only ones who've come to Silent Hill seeking punishment or redemption since the events of the first game. I think James is seeing these dead bodies the way he does because these dead visitors could easily be him if he's not careful. I think his brain is telling him this by making all the corpses look vaguely like him. Now that we've discussed all the evidence for the old loop theory in the original game, we can discuss how and why Bloober Team are leaning into loop theory in the remake. The new game features all the same evidence as the original game, including multiple endings, New Game Plus, and dead, decaying bodies that intentionally look like James. This time around, they even added James's same hair to many of the dead corpses, removing any question about who these bodies represent. Bloober Team also added the remembrances and the riddle of the Polaroids with their disturbing solution. Many fans and even game journalists seem to have taken all this the wrong way. Several articles at online gaming news outlets claim that Bloober's remake confirms the loop theory. Confirms is a very strong word. When Bloober Team's creative director and lead designer Mateusz Lenart confirmed on Twitter that the Polaroid puzzle had been solved, someone replied stating that the loop theory is canon. However, Mr. Lenart responded to him, "Is it? This is not a confirmation." This response is intentionally ambiguous. In a live event at GDC 2025, Bloober Team senior-level designer Anna Oporska-Sibisha said that the developers spent many hours researching fan theories when they were rebuilding the Labyrinth level. She stated that they wanted to include as many fan theories as possible in the remake. Therefore, adding the new clues and messages into the game is categorically fan service, which is defined as material intentionally added to a work of fiction or a fictional series to please the audience. This means the only thing that Bloober Team have confirmed in the remake is that there exists a popular fan theory that James's experience is looping. And because they've added so much more evidence of this to the remake, then within the remake the loop theory is a greater possibility. However, this does not increase the very low possibility that loop theory was ever true for the original game. I personally find the new loop theory evidence fascinating. The interesting part of it is that if James has been here for 2 decades looping through his guilty conscience, then it's possible both Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill 2 Remake are both true. Both are then just different loops James experiences. The newest loop just has better graphics, better dialogue, and longer scenes with Maria. But even with all this new evidence of loop theory, the theory itself still falls apart once you start asking some logical questions about their narrative. If James is looping through the same events over and over, then is Laura? Why would an innocent young girl be stuck in Silent Hill with James? If loop theory is true, does this mean James is dead? Are Angela and Eddie also dead already? If so, then how does James kill Eddie? Is James even in the real Silent Hill, or is his soul trapped in some alternate world version? And if James is looping through the same events, does his loop end prior to the events of Silent Hill 3? Evidence planted by Bloober Team in room 106 of Jack's Inn would indicate that after James leaves Brookhaven Hospital, Heather and Douglas from Silent Hill 3 check into room 106. Since Heather's first stop in Silent Hill was to go to Brookhaven Hospital, why didn't she and James cross paths? And furthermore, if James and the other characters of Silent Hill 2 are looping, why didn't Heather see any of them? During Silent Hill 3, she explores the same part of Silent Hill as James and would clearly see the other characters if they were still trapped there. Loop theory completely negates the fact that Silent Hill 2 is part of a series of games, whose story continues in Silent Hill 3 and 4. The biggest problem with this new evidence of loop theory in the remake is that it confuses the story and the meaning of the game for newer players who are looking for answers. The incontrovertible truth about the story of Silent Hill 2 is that it intentionally does not fully explain what happens to James. The game narrative is like a riddle posed to the player, and it wants you to piece together the clues and the scenes you are shown and find your own truth about what happens to James, so that you can draw your own lessons from the narrative. Masashi Tsuboyama, the director of Silent Hill 2, indicated this was the intent of the narrative in recent posts on X.com. But despite all this, I must admit that loop theory is a fun fan theory to contemplate. I do agree that when you're playing the original game, there's a few moments where it appears to be synchronous with Silent Hill 2. Today, in the remake, the loop theory is front and center thanks to the new Easter eggs added by Bloober Team. But the inclusion of loop theory in Bloober Team's game does not confirm that loop theory existed in the original. Its inclusion is nothing more than just a nod to all the fans, loopers and non-loopers alike. But I want to know what you think. Please comment below to let me know your thoughts on loop theory in Silent Hill 2. Thank you for watching and have a great day.